Good evening, everybody tuning in and listening in. Today is Wednesday, and it's our weekly regular thing, world history according to the Bible. My name is Aman Allah, and to my left,
It's Brother Anthony.
and we are going to get into this quickly. So, tonight the lesson is called Israelites in the Far East during the Dark Ages. So let's get an understanding of what the title means. So the Far East is talking about Asia. Now, more specifically, because the Bible mentions Asia, in the New Testament, but this is actually a different part of Asia that's not normally brought out upon in the scriptures. This is, again, the Far East of Asia. Generally speaking, when the New Testament and everything with Paul's ministry for the Gentiles, that actually dealt with Asia that was called Central Asia and Asia Minor, areas that were closer to Jerusalem and the Greek and Roman empires. Excuse me, I forgot to bring out my Bibles. So we are actually touching in the areas that we know today modernly as, China, the Republic of China, and India, and Southeast Asia, and the islands associated, that region area is what we're actually going to be touching upon and talking about tonight as far as our goal is to find Israel and to wake up Israel across the four corners of the world. So it stands to reason that definitely, just off of face value, reading the scriptures and faith in that our people are for sure over there. And it goes deep, it goes very deep. And I want to break this understanding down for you guys in two different ways. And we're going to go through both of those ways too. So we're going to get the understanding of Israel in the Far East dealing with the Jews, or those who knew who they were, who their forefathers were, and who our God is, historically known as the Jews, or the Jews, our people, the ones descending from Judah, as well as to help our brother Paul out, the Israelite Gentiles, the ones that did not, either know who they were or had given up on trying to keep their culture and customs and had assimilated into, the various nations that they were casted out to, those Israelite Gentiles. Those are the two branches that we're going to be touching upon tonight, and hopefully grafting them in together into the 12 tribes of Israel that we're trying to wake up. So we're going to get into, we got to get into a little bit of a prior Dark Age history to really get the understanding, to prove the point. So we're going to get to the book of 2 Kings, chapter 15, and verse 29. We got to understand parallelly what happened to the northern kingdom, Israel, and what we know or should know what happened to the southern kingdom of the Jews or Judah. Read that.
The book of 2 Kings, chapter 15, verse 29. In the days of Pekah, king of Israel, came Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria, and took Ijon and Abel-Beth-Maacah, and Joanna, and Kadesh, and Hazor, and Gilead, and Galilee, all the land of Naphtali, and carried them captive to Assyria. And Hosea, the son of Elah, made a conspiracy against Pekah, the son of Remaliah, and smote him, and slew, and reigned in his stead, in the 20th year of Jotham, the son of Uzziah. And the rest of the acts of Pekah, and all that he did, behold, they are written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Israel.
Con. So that is one instance of the northern kingdom of Israel being exiled out of the land allotment that the Most High gave us, all of us as tribes, but them specifically, since we kind of live as two different kingdoms in these modern times. The 10 tribers were beginning to get exiled out because of idolatry and sin in general. So the person that was exiling them was the nation doing that was the Assyrians. So if you know anything about Assyria and where that capital is, imagine in your heads, or get out a map if you can, the Fertile Crescent, which is everything from the Mediterranean Sea to the Euphrates and Tigris rivers. In the middle of that is like the Arabian Peninsula and everything else around that. So our people were taken, the 10 tribes, at first, they were taken all the way from Israel across to Assyria, which is from the Mediterranean Sea to the Euphrates River, over there. That's a long distance east. So you already have that migration going on with our people. Get 2 Kings 17:6, and just to kind of put the nail on the head as far as what happened with the northern kingdom.
2 Kings 17:6. In the 9th year of Hoshea, the king of Assyria, took Samaria and carried Israel away into Assyria, and placed them in Halah and in Habor by the river of Gozan, and in the cities of the Medes. For so it was that the children of Israel had sinned against the Lord their God, which had brought them out of the land of Egypt, from under the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and had feared other gods, and walked in the statutes of the heathen, whom the Lord cast out before the children of Israel, and of the kings of Israel which they had made. And the children of Israel did secretly those things that were not right against the Lord their God. And they built them high places in all their cities, from the tower of the watchman to the fenced city. And they set them up images and groves in every high hill, and under every green tree. And there they burnt incense in all high places, as did the heathen whom the Lord carried away before them, and wrought wicked things to provoke the Lord to anger.
Khan, thank you. So those are all the things, is the reason is why, again, why the northern kingdom was excommunicated in these areas. So that was the final straw. That's when the 10 tribes, as we know them, was put out from their land inheritance, our land inheritance. So again, that went as far as what they said, the Medes, and the Persian and Medo Empire wasn't even at that time a thing yet. But this is one of the things that you got to understand as we go through this lesson about empires. For one, it's not supposed to be like that, because the Most High gave every nation of people, he allotted them their land inheritance. So the notion of these empires that we've been living through for centuries is already in the wrong in the eyes of the Most High. But, mankind has done what they have done. So the Assyrian Empire is a big stretch of land, that you can delegate people to when and however. That's exactly what the king of Assyria did to the 10 tribes. So already you have our people scattered as far as the Euphrates River because of this one event, and the Tigris River. So that's something you got to consider when we're getting into the understanding of how did Israel end up in the further east, because Assyria to Jerusalem is east, but it goes further. There's more land. There's more land further than the Euphrates River, if you study your maps and your geography. So that again, and that was in the that was around the 8th century BC. So everything between 800 BC to 700 BC, that's when that time frame happened. So that's a long time from back then to right now for Israel to be put in these parts of the world. Let's get to more proof with this. Let's get to the book of Tobit, chapter 1, and read verses 1 through 6. We might not even have to read through all through 6, but just read there, and then maybe we'll stop where we go.
The book of Tobit, chapter 1, verse 1. The book of the words of Tobit, son of Tobiel, the son of Ananiel, the son of Aduel, the son of Gabriel, of the seed of Asiel, of the tribe of Naphtali, who, in the name of Enemeser, king of the Assyrians, was led captive out of Thisbe, which is at the right hand of that city, which is called properly Naphtali in Galilee above Asser.
Khan, everything we just read about in 2 Kings. Continue.
I, Tobit, have walked all the days of my life in the ways of truth and justice, and I did many alms deeds to my brethren and my nation, who came with me to Nineveh, into the land of the Assyrians.
Khan. Now we're saying that Tobit is in Nineveh. That's where when him and his tribes was exiled and migrated out of Israel, he himself ended up around Nineveh. And again, Nineveh is close to the capital of Assyria, close to the capital Babylon, and Nineveh is right there in that Euphrates, Tigris River area and region. That's where he was at this time. What verse are you at?
Verse 4.
Continue.
And when I was in mine own country, in the land of Israel being but young, all the tribe of Naphtali my father fell from the house of Jerusalem, which was chosen out of all the tribes of Israel, that all the tribes should sacrifice there, where the temple of the habitation of the Most High was consecrated and built for all ages.
Khan, this is why they weren't considered, and this is a man that knew who he was still, much like many of our people that have a Gentile state identity. He knew who he was, but he knew that his forefathers fell off from Jerusalem, which again became known as the Jews. He knew that there was a disconnect there that happened. Continue.
Verse 5. Now all the tribes which together revolted in the house of my father Naphtali sacrificed unto their heifer Baal. But I alone went often to Jerusalem at feasts, as it was ordained unto all people of Israel by an everlasting decree, having the first fruits and tenths of incense, with that which was first shorn, and them gave I at the altar to the priests, the children of Aaron. The first tenth part of all increase I gave to the sons of Aaron.
Oh, hold right there. We just needed to verse 6.
Okay.
Now get to Tobit chapter 14 and read verse 4 through 5, and I'll tell you which verse to read, just so we can get, we're getting the geography in the scriptures right now. So again, I hope you guys will choose to pull out a map and follow along, or at least memorize some of these places so you can picture in your head the geography that we're going through, because that's basically what this lesson is getting into, Israelite geography.
The book of Tobit, chapter 14, verse 4. Go into Media, my son, for I surely believe those things which Jonas the prophet spake of Nineveh, that it shall be overthrown, and that for a time peace shall rather be in Media, and that our brethren shall lie scattered in the earth from that good land, and Jerusalem shall be desolate, and the house of God in it shall be burned, and shall be desolate for a time. And that again God will have mercy on them, and bring them again into the land, where they shall build a temple, but not like to the first, until the time of the age be
Read
fulfilled. And afterward they shall return from all places of their captivity, and build up Jerusalem gloriously. And the house of God shall be built in it forever, with a glorious building, as the prophets have spoken thereof.
Verse 12. So right there, even Tobit's father, Tobias, was prophesying aright and correctly as far as what was going to be the end result of Israel coming from all the places that they were scattered from that time till today, eventually back home to Israel as a whole. And read verse 12. In that
Verse
same
12.
chapter.
And when Anna his mother was dead, he buried with her with his father. But Tobias departed with his wife and children to Ecbatan, to Raguel his father-in-law.
Khan. And Ecbatan again is, as Tobias had told Tobit, that was in the country of Media, and that's even further than where Nineveh is. The Mede hub or empire is, it's further east. So again, we see the migration of the 10 tribes who would be known for the most part as the Gentiles, we see their further migration going eastwards. And that's something I want you to pay attention to with that as well too. Some other accounts with that, and we're not going to maybe even get to the scriptures, but you guys recall in the time of King Solomon, correct? His ships that he sent to Ophir to get the gold and the peacocks and the apes and such like that. Ophir has been identified as Southeast Asia over by India. So again, that trade between countries, between Israel and then India at that time, that trade route was already open. So our people were already frequenting going back and forth between places like that. And again, that was a trek that took 3 years at that time. So a lot of our people, in 3 years, you're going to slow down a little bit. You know, you're going to settle down for a cool minute before, you know, you're not going to just walk, you know, a straight everyday 3-year journey. You know, you're going to have some time to chill and kick back, which is where these outposts would came in mind, which we're going to get into when we get more into the southern kingdom, or how those who kept the covenant, the Jews, how they and how we were moving in instances like this. But yeah, it's been known of our people to go parts and as far as India and Southeast Asia in the time of Solomon towards the Far East. And the best prophecy I want to actually get to is Isaiah chapter 49. And you can read verse 9 through 12. And then Isaiah 11 as well too.
The book of Isaiah chapter 49, verse 9. For my name's sake will I defer mine anger, and for my praise will I refrain for thee, that I cut thee not off. Behold, I have refined thee, but not with silver. I have chosen thee in the furnace of affliction. For mine own sake, even for mine own sake, will I do it. For how should my name be polluted? And I will not give my glory unto another. Hearken unto me, O Jacob and Israel, my called. I am he, I am the first, I also am the last. Mine hand also hath laid the foundation of the earth, and my right hand hath spanned the heavens. When I called unto them, they stand up together. All ye assemble yourselves, and hear, which among them hath declared these things. The Lord hath loved him. He will do his pleasure. He will do his pleasure on Babylon, and his arm shall be on the Chaldeans. I, even I, have spoken. Yea, I have called him, I have brought him, and he shall make his way prosperous. Come ye near unto me, hear ye this. I have not spoken in secret from the beginning. From the time that it was, there am I. And now the Lord God and his Spirit hath sent me. Thus saith the Lord, thy Redeemer, the Holy One of Israel. I am the Lord thy God, which teacheth thee to profit, which leadeth thee by the way that thou shouldest go. Oh, that thou hadst hearkened to my commandments. Then had thy peace been as a river, and thy righteousness as the waves of the sea. Thy seed also had been as the sand, and the offspring thy bowels like the gravel thereof.
Hold on really quick. Are you in Isaiah chapter 49?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm 48.
Okay, excuse us real quick. All that was, even leads up to what we're going to bring right now. The Most High is promising our people that, acknowledge him, and he's going to bring them back. But this is actually the scripture that I want to get with you guys. Just read Isaiah 49 and verse 12, because it's already, the context is already put.
49 and 12. Behold, these shall come from far, and lo, these from the north and from the west, and these from the land of Sinim.
So that word right there, when the Moses said that these from the land of Sinim, as my brother said, that's actually, it's pronounced Sinim, and that word actually is the country designation of China. When you study Chinese and the language, it's actually called sinology, Sinology. So that traditional study of East Asian history, Chinese history, and such like that, actually parallels with the understanding of biblically the people over there. They knew what they were called by Hebrews and what the Most High had actually called them. So Sinology is synonymous with these Israelites going as far as the land of Sinim. So that's more biblical prophecy truth about where our people are going to be coming from. In particular, those that became the Gentiles and the 10 tribes, at least at the moment we're talking about. And then as well, if you guys don't know, Isaiah chapter 11, we can get that actually real quick too, Isaiah chapter 11, just to, again, put the nail in the coffin and prove the point of as far as where is the Most High gathering our people? Everywhere. Isaiah 11 and verse 10 through 11.
Isaiah 11, verse 10. And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people.
Which is Yahweh Shai.
To it shall the Gentiles seek, and his rest shall be glorious. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt, and from Pathros, and from Cush, and from Elam, and from Shinar, and from Hamath, and from the islands of the sea. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations, and shall assemble the outcast of Israel, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth.
Khan. And I like that that's what verse just said that. He's going to gather the outcasts of Israel and the dispersed of Judah, the Jews, you know. So, again, this is the framework that I'm trying to put this lesson in, because there were Jews in the Far East as well as the outcasts of Israel in the Far East as well, too. So we got to keep those things in mind as we go along. Now, I want to touch upon the Jews, those of Jerusalem and of Judah, and what they were doing during the Middle Ages time in these parts and just generally everywhere else that the known world was known as. Let's get to the book of 2 Kings 25, verse 22 to 26. And let me preface it with this. So we all should understand that not only the 10 tribes got kicked out of Israel, but permanently, but the southern kingdom, or Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, they were actually kicked out of Israel for a time too, going into Babylon, but returned during the Persian and Mede captivity. The mass majority, but not all of the southern kingdom or Judah actually went back home to Israel. Some of them still stayed in some of the places they fled to avoid Babylonian captivity, and then others, as we get into kingdoms and empires, they stayed in their respective provinces, you know. Even returning back from Persia and Media, not all the Jews returned, only a good amount did. But then we're going to get into what that looks like. So 2 Kings 25, 22 through 26.
The book of 2 Kings is chapter 25, verse 22. And as for the people that remained in the land of Judah, from Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, had left, even over them had made Gedaliah, the son of Ahikam, the son of Shaphan, ruler. And when all the captains of the armies, they and their men, heard that the king of Babylon had made Gedaliah governor, there came to Gedaliah to Mitzpah even Ishmael, the son of Nathaniah, and Johanan, the son of Kareah, and Sariah, the son of Tanhumeth, the Netophathite, and Jaazaniah, the son of Maakathite, they and their men. And Gedaliah sware to them and to their men, and said unto them, Fear not to be the servants of the Chaldees. Dwell in the land and serve the king of Babylon, and it shall be well with you. But it came to pass in the 7th month that Ishmael, the son of Nathaniah, the son of Elishama, of the seed royal came, and 10 men with him, and smote Gedaliah, that he died, and the Jews and the Chaldees that were with him at Mizpah. And all the people, both small and great, and the captains of the armies arose and came to Egypt, for they were afraid of the Chaldees.
So that's one instance of a rebel type faction group in Jerusalem, Judea at that time that did not agree, or even they didn't agree with the will of the Most High, which was to submit themselves to Nebuchadnezzar and the Babylonians. But they decided that they were going to kill Gedaliah, which was the governor that the Babylonians put over Jerusalem at that time to fulfill the word of the Lord, but they weren't having it. So they killed him, and they took, small factions of Jews, Israelites, to Egypt. And that's why Egypt is known to be one of the major hubs and centers of where you're going to find the Jews. Even forward in time towards when Christ was born. The reason why his parents had to hide out in Egypt. Our people were already there specifically from this event, when they refused to go under the captivity of Nebuchadnezzar. And that's just Egypt for the southern kingdom or the Jews. That's just one place. There's many others, as we're going to find out right now too. Let's get to the book of Esther, chapter 1 and verse 1. This is right now we're going to deal with the Persian and Mede Empire. And something you guys need to know about empires, as empires form and function and wars happen and new people become the heads of those empires, they expand. So more territory is gained when you take over someone's empire. And that's exactly what happened with the Persians and Medes when they took over the Babylonians, who took over the Assyrians and such like that, and everything after that. So consider this, Esther 1:1.
The book of Esther, chapter 1, verse 1. Now it came to pass in the day of Azarias, this is Azarias, which reigned from India even unto the Ethiopia, over 127 provinces, that in those days when the king Ahasuerus sat on the throne of his kingdom, which was in Shushan the palace, in the 3rd year of his reign, he made a feast unto all his princes and his servants.
That's enough with that. So we heard that it was from Ethiopia to actually India. That's further than what we read about in Tobit, which was dealing with Ecbatane and Media. India is further east, and that's all the provinces of the Persian king and the Persian Empire. Now I want you to get to Esther 9 and 20. And we're going to just get the understanding of that. There were Israelites that were scattered all through these provinces from India to Ethiopia, being under the Persian Empire. Esther 9 and 20.
The book of Esther, chapter 9, verse 20. And Mordecai wrote these things and sent letters unto all the Jews that were in all the provinces of the king Ahasuerus, both nigh and far, to establish this among them, that they should keep the 14th day of the month Adar, and the 15th day of that same, yearly. As the days were in, the Jews rested from their enemies, and the month which was turned unto them from sorrow to joy, and from the mourning to a good day.
So that's even Mordecai himself sending these letters through every province of Persia, again, from India to Ethiopia. The expanse of Israelite touching upon every face of the earth during this time, the 5th and 4th century BC, it gets bigger, And again, not every Jew went back to Jerusalem. They stayed in the places that they were sent when they were taken in captivity, along with the 10 tribes as well too. We're going to get to the book of Acts, chapter 2 and verse 7, just to 2 and verse 7. This is going to pretty much hopefully put the nail on the head for you guys as far as why we were scattered out in so many of these places. Acts 2 and 7, verse through 11.
Acts chapter 2, verse 7. And they were all amazed and marveled, saying one to another, Behold, are not all these which speak Galileans? And how hear we every man in our own tongue, wherein we were born? Parthians, and Medes, and Elamites, and the dwellers of Mesopotamia, and in Judea, and Cappadocia, in Pontus, and Asia, Phrygia, and Pamphylia, in Egypt, and in the parts of Libya about Cyrene, and strangers of Rome, Jews and proselytes, Cretes and Arabians. We do hear them speak in our tongues the wonderful works of God. And they were all amazed, and were in doubt, saying one to another, What meaneth this?
And I mean, that's pretty much the understanding that was given, that there were Jews all over, Asia Minor, mainly these countries. You can look in the scripture. You guys can look up these places in antiquity yourselves and see where they were situated. And pretty much, they're not all in Jerusalem. So, along with Egypt, you had communities of Jews that lived satellite to the homeland, to the motherland, to Israel. So, as far as I think it said Mesopotamia. So again, these parallels between the scattering of the northern and the southern kingdom, they prove themselves to be true with the scriptures. So let's get into a little bit of the details now, as far as research has confirmed with our people dealing with the Far East. Mainly, I'm gonna touch upon India and then China, and I will touch on India first. There's not going to really be too much scriptures unless something comes to my head, so we just kind of fall in line. So, dealing with all that being said, Israelites in India, this is what you got to understand. You got to understand the Indian Ocean sea trade routes. Our people, especially as far as dealing with the southern kingdom, the Jews, and our people have always been merchants, the ones that are, having jobs and such like that, making money. Our people generally were merchants and big travelers. This is one of the reasons why our forefathers generally knew like 3 and 4 languages. Paul is a good example. He knew definitely more than one language. So the Indian Ocean sea trade routes, this is one of the ways that our people had got to places like India. Some names that you can look up for yourself. A man named Abraham bin Yiju. He was from Cairo. He was also a trader into India, going back and forth between Cairo and Egypt. As we just read, Egypt was a big outpost for satellite Jews, and he did a lot of trading with the people of India, and as well as, settled there too. When you settle in the places that you're trading from, like I was talking about with Solomon, it makes that type of business in life a lot easier than having to bring everyone just back. That's just a trick of the trade, pretty much, to have chains, pretty much. You don't just go to McDonald's in one city. McDonald's is everywhere. That's the same thing with the Southern Kingdom, the Jews doing these trade routes. Another notable name, and this is a big one, a man named Maimonides. He was from Egypt, and he has a good amount of books written. He's from the 11th and 12th century, so during the time of the Dark Ages or the Middle Ages. Maimonides, he has a lot of accounts in his written works dealing with Jews and people from India as well too. Also, what helped our people spread over there was the spread of Islam. When Islam came about in the 7th century, that tended to not only increase business and trade, but also at some point persecution. So for our people to leave Islamic persecution, one of the ways that we went to in direction was into India. The Islamic rule didn't have as much territory or hostility towards Jews when we went to India. So that's one of the reasons why we were there during the Middle Ages as well, too. Let me see. Oh, this is something as well, too. So some of the peoples rather in India that are Jewish identified people, Israelites, I'll give you a couple, I believe 3. You have the Kohen Jews, Cohin Jews. You have the Kohen Jews that are in the southern part of India, and you have the Bnei Israel, the sons of Israel, 2 communities that live in India from these times, both of 10 tribe, Israelite Gentile descent, as well as of the trade routes and the persecutions from Islam getting over there as well too. You have that in India. You also have probably the most outstanding one. You have they call themselves the Saint Thomas. They call themselves the Saint Thomas Jews. The St. Thomas Christians, They call themselves the St. Thomas Christians, and they're in India, and they lay claim that Thomas, one of the 12 apostles, during the during the first century when Christ walked the earth and died, or was put to death, his disciple Thomas, the one that they called Doubting Thomas, made a pilgrimage over there to wake up our people, the lost sheep of Israel, as early recorded back as the first century. There's an apocryphal book that goes into it too that's called the Acts, not the Gospel, but it's called the Acts of Thomas, which actually chronicle these events, as well as it's accepted in Christian martyrdom that Thomas, this Saint Thomas, was actually killed and martyred in India. So you have those sources from the Catholic Church as well as the Saint Thomas Christians, and this book called the Acts of Thomas that confirmed that he was in India and waking up our people, converting them to the belief in Christ, and out of their Gentile state of mind. So again, those are some people you guys want to maybe look up to. They're in the southern part of India. They call themselves the St. Thomas Christians of India. They live in the cities of Kerala, Muziris, and Kranganore. I know you guys probably can't really figure that, but if you do some Googling with the St. Thomas Christians of India, you'll get those city names, both historically and modern day, as far as where they're at, and keeping the laws, keeping the laws to the best of their ability and believing in Christ. You have different factions of Jew, Israelite, Christian identified peoples over there. All right, so next I want to touch on, as far as China itself, how our people, or why our people were over there. This is one you guys want to take down notes too. Write down the Silk Road trade routes. So very similar to the Indian Ocean trade, the Silk Road was that, but just on land, stretching as far as Spain, which is further west, from Spain all the way to the ocean where Japan is at in China. That's how far this trade route went. And this was a trade route that was used by many empires, from the times of the Persians to the Greeks and the Romans. This walking trade route was a known, verifiable thing or fact that business people and commanders and kingdom rulers used. They used the Silk Road to trade, merchandise and such like that. And again, our people, the Jews, we were big on merchandise trading. So we had outposts, communities where our people could make those travels easier. You know, we would go such and such so far, stay here in a community of like-minded thinking people, you know, Jews, and then keep going on and then make your way back. That's what we did, being scattered throughout Asia and, you know, the Far East and even to Spain. Those are the things that we were doing, utilizing the Silk Road for money and, you know, and trade and commerce. You could write down the Radhanite Jewish merchants. Those are that was a term and a name of our people that used the Silk Road. They were called by the Arabs Radhanites, Radhanite, the Radhanite Jews, you know, merchants in the eyes of Arabs. So one of the major major known outposts, trading outposts, was literally in what's today modern China, called Kaifeng. That's spelled Kaifeng, Kaifeng, a trade outpost as far as China, where our people were at, and people over there to this day still identify as keeping the laws, and they identify from the Jews and the Israelites that came from that. They say, yeah, we descend from Israel. We've been here since as early as the 6th century, you know, after Christ's death and everything. That's how long they've been over there because of the Silk Road trade routes. That's one of the communities. Again, it's called Kaifeng. Some other major posts in Central Asia and such like that are Bukhara and Samarkand. So something that I want to get you guys, I guess, to understand with this, along with discipleship or apostleship, such as St. Thomas going as far as India and also documented going to China as well too, as well as the trade routes, Jews and the disperse of Israel, which more than likely had already been there even before the Jews came and made trade routes there. How can I put this? It's it's prophecy being revealed, and as those who lost their identity come into contact with those who are practicing their identity, Israel, it makes that cohesion. Stronger for our people to identify with, and then Christ Himself just seals the deal when it comes to evangelizing to so-called Jews that generally don't believe in Christ and what He did, as well as waking up the Gentiles as well too. I want to read the book of Acts, chapter 13, and verse 46 through 48 to kind of emphasize that, because Paul himself, you know, even before Paul, Peter was the one that was supposed to be out to evangelize to Christ the Jews. You know, that was his job. Paul's mission, and as well as many others after that, his main job was to go and evangelize to the Gentiles or Israelite outcasts. Read that, Acts 13 and 46 through 48.
The book of Acts, chapter 13, verse 46. Then Paul and Barnabas waxed bold and said it was necessary that the word of God should first have been spoken to you.
Which is talking to the Jews.
But seeing ye put it from you and judged yourselves unworthy of everlasting life, lo, we turn to the Gentiles.
So, I mean, when you look into because you can Google these things. When you look into who identify as the Kaifeng Jews today, you're not going to see, generally speaking, you know, who teaches up here today. You're not going to see Israelites that have the likeness of Christ. You're not going to have Israelites that have the likeness of so-called Southern Kingdom and African American people in general, and even maybe generally speaking in Los Angeles, 10 tribers, who we might identify as Latinos or Native Americans. You're going to see these people that over the process of time of integration with the people around them looking like Chinese people, but keeping these customs. And these are the things that we have to consider when we are trying the Spirit, by the Spirit, of Christ, and to, regardless, gather our people wherever they're at, whether they're of the Gentile dispersion and as well as Southern Kingdom, the Jews just being out there doing what we do best, with business, such like that. And then everything, in between with that, with our people. Those are the things that we have to consider when we bring it up to date, the gathering of Israel across the four corners of the world, and in particular today, the Far East. Again, I don't have pictures and a PowerPoint to show you a lot of the other proofs that are taken as far as even like archaeology, but we're gonna pretty much leave it at that. With the history accounted for, which was a little bit before the Dark Ages and the Middle Ages, but as well as looking into what our people were doing with these trade routes, the Indian Ocean sea trade, as well as the Silk Road, it's not hard to factor and put together the dispersion of Israel over in these areas. And again, some of the names like Maimonides, what he was dealing with during these Middle Ages and Dark Ages. So you guys definitely go do the research for yourself. Go look into these different various areas, and prove the scriptures for yourselves. But I guess just remember this on a closing point. Zechariah 7:14.
The book of Zechariah, chapter 7 and verse 14. But if I scattered them with a whirlwind among all nations whom they knew not, thus the land was desolate after them, that no man passed through, nor returned, for they laid the pleasant land desolate.
So those are the things that we want to consider when we are out here gathering our people, from both branches, which Christ and Paul, said these, they're getting regrafted together. The 10 tribes and the Southern Kingdom were coming back together, and that is the purpose and the point of this history lesson tonight. So that's another one, and tune in, for another Wednesday history lesson that we do daily, and everything else that we do during the week. So with that, we say good night and shalom.
Shalom.